Hello, welcome to the channel. Today's video, I'm making a jack-o'-lantern. So I'm going to make it look like there's 3 pumpkins stacked on top of each other. I've already drawn on the faces detail that I'm going to carve out. So I'm just rounding over the bottom, rounding in between the pumpkins, but not too deep with these cuts at the side, because you've got to hollow the middle out. And top tip mistake I made on this one was I picked a log that's too bigger than my biggest bar on my chainsaw. So on my Titan chainsaw, that's the biggest longest bar I've got. I think it's like 50 centimeters or something like that anyway, and it doesn't go all the way through this log, so that's the hardest part about this, is hollowing the center out. And in the end I had to just cut from both sides. I'm just going round with the tip of the bar on the MS-170 stock bar, stock chain, stock everything, just MS-170, and just going around with the tip of the bar to round off the separation between the pumpkins, so it looks like there's 3 stacked on each other. And just with these separations, I'm just not going too deep, because remember you've got to hollow out the middle of it as well, so don't go too deep. So I'm just rounding over the top of the pumpkin and then cutting in the segments, the pumpkin segments. So I do one that's straight in, and then I do 2 that's at like one either side of the straight cut, and it's like 45. Got like that segment on his face is like a scar face, and I just keep going down the pumpkins doing the segments, but I'm just trying to make the segments on the pumpkin in a little bit of a different place, so it's just not like, it doesn't just like look the same segments all the way up the pumpkins. So they've all got different segments, different sizes, and that they all just look like their own pumpkin. And I've started trying to use my right hand as much as I can to be the weight bearer of the saw, so I keep switching it because my left arm's starting to hurt. I've got fibromyalgia and that, so I don't know if it's that or whether I've been doing it for too long and the vibrations hurting it, but just got to give time for the muscles to grow and that, and so try and use my right hand as much as I can now. Switch it about a bit. So I've got all the segments done, switched over to the MS-170 with the carving bar on there, and I just angle the bar up, so as you're cutting in, you're cutting on the bottom of your bar. Once you start going in, that's when you can lift it up and just go straight in. You go nice and deep, so when you cut out, hollow out your middle, hollow out the centre of your log, the light's got to come through these details that you're putting in now. So I'm going quite deep in. There's like a little hole at the tip of the bar, about 3 inches in or whatever, so that's how far I was going in. Obviously, like on the smaller X's, the further you go in, the wider your bar gets. So when you're trying to do small, if you're trying to do really small detail, you just got to think about taking too much. Deeper you go, the wider your bar gets. So take into consideration you won't be able to do super small fine details and go as deep, because the bar gets wider the deeper you go. Took me ages to get that out. And what I'm doing with these big teeth at the bottom is keeping the teeth solid wood and removing the material in between the teeth. I'm trying to make the teeth completely like joined to the top of the mouth, so they're not completely separated and there's not a cut all the way across the top of the mouth, so it's not weak there. Because I watched Kyle Hall's video, and he made one part of his pumpkin too weak, so it snapped, or it just felt flimsy, one or two. So that's where I got there. Watched his video on how to make a jack-o'-lantern. Got the idea for the LED puck lights from watching his video as well. So keep your teeth joined so that your pumpkin's still strong. And I've gone for like a funky cyclops pumpkin at the bottom. Carved out all the details of the faces, and so that the details on the face light up, I'm going to go in with this saw and cut that out so the light can go from the bottom of it up through it. Jack-o'-lantern, I hope. So this is my first attempt with the Titan chainsaw to go in, and I'm just going to make 4 cuts. So you're just cutting a square out the middle. I've just ratchet strapped it to my motorbike jack, so it won't, hopefully it won't move, but it's the same again. Angle your saw so the bottom of your bar is cutting in till you've got a good depth like that, and then start lifting it up, lifting your saw up to a plunge cut. And when you're starting your cut, just make sure you've got a strong grip, because that's what the chainsaw wants to do, is just bounce up and smash in the face. So good strong grip, sharp chainsaw. And then I realised I was recording my back for the whole cut, so I cut through the ratchet strap as well. First cut of 4 done. So I cut through the other ratchet strap, so just thought I'd show you how I get the ratchet strap on there. Hook the hooks through each other, just nice and tight. There we go. Ready for the next 3 cuts. But I just had to finish this first cut off because I popped through and cut the ratchet strap. So just finishing this one off and tidying this one up. That's my back. I love recording my back. There we go, all the way through, tidied up, deep as the chainsaw goes, which isn't as long as the log. Live and learn. The next log, not as shorter. So I'm just doing the second side of the square cut. Just going to hollow it out. It seemed to be a bit better with a stronger ratchet strap on there. The second side of the square cut out. So a bit of a different angle and more zoomed in. It's just violent. It's the only way I can describe these cuts to hollow it out. I don't know whether I need to sharpen my saw or what, but it's just violent, jumping around, whacking back into me, just bouncing the motorbike jack around, just violent. So yeah, just take your time, angle your saw up, good strong grip, pushing that saw away from you. Just take your time, be careful, wear your safety gear and that. Don't do what I do. And this is where I realise, how am I going to get that square out the middle of it? because my bar doesn't go all the way through. So then mess about for about half an hour trying to cut triangles out and crowbar them bits out, and then like I say, half hour of messing about like this. I know I've got to sharpen a big sword, and then decided, right, it's not going to work like that, so I'm going to have to go into the top. But I started it off with the MS-170, start the plunge cuts off with them because it's just violent with that big saw, so I found it easier to start off the plunge cuts with the MS-170 and then come back at it with the Titan, with the long bar on there. So yeah, this is why when you're choosing your log, think about, will your bar go all the way through it or not, and if you're going to have to cut the top out, I don't know how you're going to get the wood out without doing loads of like routing it out with your bar. It's probably just easier to keep the top of your log nice and flat, cut in from the top, cut in from the bottom, take the square out and reattach your lid. That's what I've done. So this 170 isn't going to reach the cut from the bottom, so I'm going to have to get the big saw in there. Trial and error, first jack-o'-lantern, carving number 14, still learning, getting there. So day 2, second morning, I ran out of fuel and everything yesterday, it's out. So one thing I will say is, when you're making these, think about how long your bar is on your biggest chainsaw. This piece of wood's too big. It's way bigger than the bar on my chainsaw, so I've got to mess about. And then you can see, cut up from the bottom down there, and then when I've cut in from the top, I've angled it in too much, so it's not joined. So that's what took so long. I wasted so much fuel. It tired me out so much. So yeah, definitely think about how big or how long your log is. Hopefully that'll be wide enough hole for the light to get through it now. So I've got the LED light pucks coming tonight. So I'm gonna cut a flat section on the top, so I can add a lid, and sand it and paint it, and I'll come back once I've done all that and I've got the light in there so you can see what it looks like at night. So I've got the flat disc on with a higher grit and disc with backing pad with low grit. Get my mask on, get some quick sanding done. Almost done. Just need to give him a quick little hoover inside, so when I burn it, all the little frizzies in there aren't catching on fire. So I'm just cutting the top flat, but I reckon if I was to do one of these again and I wanted to make it longer than my bar on my Titan, you could just cut the top off straight away, so then you've already got a piece that fits back on that you can reattach once you've cut the square out the middle to make your stalk. So this is the piece that I'm cutting off another log to make the lid, so I can recarve a stalk on top of the jack-o'-lantern. And then after I cut this log, it didn't fit on nice, so I've had to cut it on an angle to make their log longer. Obviously from one corner of a square to the other corner of a square, it's a longer line than it would be to just go across the top of the square and down the side of the square. So yeah, so I cut this on an angle so then I can put it on top. So I've just put 2 screws into the piece of wood I cut off the other log to make the top, so I can redo the store. And so I'm just reshaping that, and then it's got 1 screw securing it at the bottom. It's a bit wobbly and annoying, but I hit the screw with the saw, so I had to go off and sharpen that as well. It's just been like one obstacle after another on this one, but worth it. I've just sharpened my saw, obviously loosened the bolts so I can tighten the chain, and then forgot to tighten the bolts and tighten the chain, so there you go, you see the bolt just fall out using the chainsaw without it even bolted in. So tighten the bolts up, chainsaw's sharp, good to go. Lost half of a couple of teeth on the screw, and then shape it up with the carving bar, and then to put the lines in the stalk, it's got the grinder with the flap disc on it, and got the stalk done. So I've watched Jordy Johnson's Carving Fusion video on world's greatest headboard, coolest headboard, and I can't remember the name of, it's like Japanese art, wood art. So you burn into the grain, try and do it equally, so move your torch at the same pace and try and keep your torch at the same distance from the wood so that you're burning the wood equally, and then clean it up with a brush, and it makes the grain stand out really nice. So that's what I've gone with on this one. Burn, brush, and then you've got nice grain popping out. So I've just got a nylon brush wheel and my drill, blast off that carbon. And yeah, if your finger gets tired of holding the drill, you can get a clamp and clamp down the trigger, and then you can hold the drill in a more easy and comfortable way. There you go. So this is where I've got to. Burnt it and brushed it. Then I'm going to put oil on it, see how it looks. Thinking I might just leave it like that with the grain. Can't remember the name of the technique, but Jordy Johnson did it on his headboard. I've got these light pucks, LED pucks, batteries not included, 2 controls, £15 I think I paid for them off Amazon. So yeah, see how it looks once I put a light in there. So we've got a control and I've put the light in there. That's what it looks like when you've got the light on. And that's what it looks like with the light off. See where the buttons are to change. Little play about, right then. That is cool, well happy with it. There we go. jack-o'-lantern. So what I'm doing now, just finishing it off with the Danish oil. Pour a bit on your brush. It's just going to make all the grain pop. So I'm just going to use Danish oil first to see whether I like it with just the oil, because you can always paint out onto oil after. So I think it looks pretty cool with just the oil, but if you wanted to change your mind, you've got more choice. Like, whereas if you just painted this orange and went, oh, it doesn't look very good, you can always give it an oil first, see whether you like it just oiled, because you can paint after, but you can't oil after you've painted, unless obviously you sand the paint off. But long. So yeah, I'm going to get on with the rest of this. I'll show you what it looks like once it's done. The grain is looking too cool when I'm painting it on the faces, so I thought I'll record a little bit of the transformation as you add the oil. It's looking good. Jack-o'-lantern. It's a lot of hard work. Just the hardest part of it is trying to get the middle out. So try and don't use a log that's bigger than the bar on your biggest chainsaw, because otherwise it's more awkward trying to make a cut from the bottom during the cut that you're making from the top. So that's one thing I've learnt from this. I'd probably make it about that big, so my bar could go all the way through it on your biggest chainsaw. That was the most awkward and unenjoyable bit, but it was still fun. Good workout. Wasted a whole tank of petrol and still didn't even get through. But yeah, so size of log is important, so to the size of your biggest bar, and then just go. What else have I learned? Definitely carve these out first, but carve them quite deep, because once you've cut the bottom out, well, I don't know whether you use a jaw horse, but I just put it onto the motorbike jack, so then 2 screws up into the bottom of the log, but there's no bottom of the log anymore. So once you've cut out the bottom, if you're using a jack, it's awkward to do any more work on it after you put it out. So yeah, here we go. Trick or treat. So there it is, finished. Danish oil. I tried knocking through there with a chisel, silly mistake, so I cracked all that, so I had to put a screw in the top of there. And this is what it looks like in the dark. Quality. Please subscribe. If you like the video, give it a like. I don't know what I'm going to do next now. I might do a ghost. Something still a bit Halloween-y. Jack-o'-lantern.